Welcome back to another Q&A. First question, is there anything you do for your own pleasure or stress that isn't actually healthy? So I'm going to answer it in a way that, okay, what's the unhealthiest thing in my life? Because I think I generally have a very healthy lifestyle. I exercise regularly, I sleep long enough consistently, go to bed at the same time. I have a pretty good mental health, I kind of have a good diet, etc. So I don't have any massive red flags in my lifestyle for health. But I think the unhealthiest thing in my life is probably this. Making this content on YouTube and recording videos is probably the unhealthiest part of my life. Mostly because of being under these kind of artificial lights a lot of the time, several hours at a time at some point. And also just working at the computer for pretty much all day. So I'm I guess like a solopreneur in that sense. I run the YouTube channel, I have involvements in other businesses. I'm all my work is online, and I spend many hours in front of the computer, which ultimately is the unhealthiest thing in my life. I don't think it's massively damaging my health in some sense. Yes, but probably the excess blue light isn't that healthy. Unless I do other things to counterbalance it, which I'm going to cover shortly. But yeah, just spending a lot of time under artificial light, looking at the screen, being sedentary, that's not a healthy thing for anyone. Now, I do a very good job at counteracting those effects and balancing those effects with other healthy lifestyle. So it's not really having a very unhealthy effect on my health. It's not really damaging my health in a serious way. But let's say for the physical movement, I have a good way to balance it in the sense that I exercise regularly. So even though I might be working many hours in front of the computer, I always have at least 1 hour per day of kind of more intense movement, whether that be at the gym, doing cardio, hiking, or going for longer walks, whatever it is. So that kind of already is a very great way to balance being sedentary in front of the computer. I have a standing work desk, so I can adjust the height of it. I'm usually standing most of the day. I'm actually, sitting only when I'm eating something, hanging on the couch with my wife or dog, and sleeping. So those are the only time, or driving as well. Those are the only times I'm actually sitting. Most of the day, I'm kind of standing on my work desk, and I can adjust the height. I have a walking treadmill here as well. So a lot of the time I'm actually walking on the treadmill while I'm doing something on the computer. So that's a great way to get your steps in, keep yourself moving, and avoid the harm of sitting constantly. When it comes to the blue light, the artificial light, then I haven't found any good kind of healthy lights to use. I'm using a regular LED ring light here. I can adjust the brightness of it. Obviously, I can make it brighter. I can change the color. Sometimes my skin color looks different because it's literally just a ring light. You can make it more orange. You can make it more blue. You can make it different colors. Adjust the brightness of it as well. But if I'm recording videos, I'm just making it brighter. It looks better. And obviously it distinguishes me from the background in that sense. So you don't want to be under a candlelight. It just looks bad on a video. So I do have to use bright lights. What I do have here is, I have also a red light bulb here by Bond Charge. So I can use this as a way to kind of bring more balance to the wavelengths of light, because extra blue light, first of all, it damages your eyes. It can damage the collagen in your skin. It can disrupt your circadian rhythms if you get exposed to it at the evening. So too much blue artificial light isn't gonna be healthy for you for many reasons. But I kind of use some of this red light occasionally to kind of bring it together a more holistic or more full spectrum exposure to lights. Because natural sunlight, you get a whole spectrum. You get the blue, green, orange, red lights. So you get a lot of different types of a wavelength of light, which kind of balances these wavelengths. But if you're only getting the artificial blue light, then that's not a good thing. So I use the red light. I also have a red light therapy device here actually, which I use every morning. This is a big one by One Charge. I use this every morning for 15 minutes, especially in the winter when there's not that much sunlight. So it's a good way to get some of the benefits of infrared light and red light if it's dark outside or if it's winter. So right now in Estonia, it's starting to get pretty dark. We don't get that much sunlight anymore, and in the winter months, this kind of red light therapy device is a game changer for me, at least. What else do I do? For eye health, looking at this screen, first of all, the blue light can damage your eyes, can worsen your vision over time if you do it for decades. Just kind of this nearsightedness, just looking things that are so close to you isn't a good thing. You reduce your vision by doing that. So what I like to do is take like eye breaks. So I have a window here behind the curtain. I look outside into long distances to kind of give your body and eyes a different vision. So you don't want to always look at things that are so close. Most of our life is super close. The phone, the screen, the car, TV, whatever it is, your food, everything is so close. So you rarely have to use things that are like, kilometers away. So I'm just looking out the window into the long distance every once in a while to kind of give your eyes a little bit of a break. I also take some supplements for the eyes. So, and dietary, let's say, principles to follow for the eyes. So you basically want to get like these carotenoids from your food and maybe supplement. So like zeaxanthin, lutein, astaxanthin as well. And those kind of things, beta carotene, they protect your eyes. They also have benefits on the brain. So you eat egg yolks, these orange kind of vegetables and fruits, carrots, sweet potatoes. Those are the biggest sources of carotenoids, squash, pumpkins, etc. So pretty like eating those on a regular basis, and like fish as well, salmon, omega-3s. Your eyes are hugely benefiting from omega-3 intake as well. So I take some omega-3 supplements, eat a lot of carotenoid foods, take some carotenoid supplements like astaxanthin, lutein, zeaxanthin as well, as to just keep my eyes healthy. I think having the vision is quite underrated and an important part of a healthy life, because most of the circadian signaling happens through the eyes, and with age you see this decrease in circadian alignment because of damage to the brain. The circadian clocks get damaged during aging, and your eyes also get damaged during aging, which then reduces the circadian transmission into the eyes. So your body doesn't know what it is. Is it daytime or is it evening? Or at least there's less of this amplitude between the circadian hormones because there's less transmission to the brain through the eyes. So maintaining eyesight is a good thing for overall health. And I guess that's pretty much it. Most of these unhealthy things about working in front of a computer are like physical and related to eyes. And I don't think that I really, suffer that much from it. But because of being able to counterbalance a lot of this harm with a proper hacks, if you will. I want to take a quick break to let you know about my favorite wellness devices, which are the Bond Charge red light therapy devices. You've probably seen many of your favorite longevity influencers using these red light therapy devices, but do they actually work? Yes, they do. Red light therapy has been shown to have many benefits on skin anti-aging, hormone optimization, pain management, and even exercise performance. I use my device every day for 15 minutes, especially during the winter months when there's not much sunlight. It increases my energy in the morning and makes my skin glow. Just check out the testimonials on the Bond Charge website for the before and after pictures of other people. Most red light therapy devices don't have the right wavelengths of light, which might mean you're not getting the claimed benefits. Bond Charge uses the exact wavelengths of light used in research, and they also have near-infrared light that's beneficial to the joints. Head over to bondcharge.com and use the code SIIM, S-I-I-M, for a 15% discount. Next question: how do we prevent kidney markers from being elevated when taking amino acids such as creatine, TMG, taurine, etc.? In general, what can we do to increase our kidney health? So yes, some of supplements can worsen your kidney markers. Creatine is the most notorious one. Creatine increases your creatinine levels, which typically results in lower EGFR levels as well. EGFR is the estimated glomerular filtration rate, and low EGFR is indicative of kidney dysfunction and eventually leads to kidney disease. Now the problem with this is that creatinine is not that, suitable for people who, take creatine, or they have more muscle mass, or they exercise. There's a pretty good correlation between how much muscle mass you have and how high your creatinine levels are. So even if you do regular exercise, you have slightly more muscle mass than the average person, then your creatinine levels on the blood work tend to be out of the range, too high. Now, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily indicative of kidney damage or something like that, because you just have more muscle and you exercise, which then kind of creates this result. And usually EGFR on the standard blood panel is calculated from creatinine, which then gives you this kind of a pseudo effect of kidney dysfunction, that your EGFR is low, your creatinine is high, but that's because of muscle mass or taking creatine. A more reliable blood marker to use for kidney health is cystatin C. So you can also calculate EGFR from cystatin C. So if your lab uses creatinine and it tells you that your EGFR is too low, then it might be because of the high creatinine levels from creatine or muscle mass or something like that. But if it's calculated from cystatin C, which is less affected by muscle mass and creatine and those kind of things, then that's a more reliable marker for EGFR. So I always like to look at cystatin C more so than with creatinine levels. And some of the other amino acids, taurine and TMG, I haven't found that much evidence that they would worsen kidney health in most people, but creatine is generally the one that does do that. So the first thing to do is to just look at your cystatin C and calculate your EGFR from cystatin C, not creatinine, if that makes sense. While the other things to kind of do to improve kidney health, then supplements, there's not that much evidence that a ton of supplements would harm the kidneys as long as you're like a healthy person, but it might. So, cutting out some of the supplements in the short term obviously can improve kidney health. I don't think they're like causally gonna worsen your kidney health, but in some situations, people who take too much supplements, they might see some suboptimal kidney markers, but that's usually because of other things related to like body composition, their overall diet, their other blood markers. So what are like some things you can do? Usually kidney disease walks hand in hand with diabetes. So high blood sugar levels and high blood pressure are generally the ones that drive kidney disease and kidney dysfunction as well. So looking at those things, losing some weight, lowering your blood pressure, managing stress, sleeping enough, fixing your diet, reducing some extra carbohydrates or something like that to improve your blood sugar. Those are all like useful tips. And even let's say you're generally healthy, even then a diet that is too high in phosphorus is also being seen to damage kidneys and also lead to kidney disease. Now the thing here is that this is so only in the absence of magnesium or like a low magnesium status. So if you have high phosphorus levels from eating a lot of animal protein or drinking too much Coca-Cola, whatever the case is, which are the highest sources of phosphorus, like usually get it a lot from animal protein like milk, dairy, eggs, but you also get it from carbonated beverages, sodas. So high phosphorus levels, for whatever the reason is, does worsen kidney function, but is mostly an issue if you have also low magnesium status. So you need to also make sure that you have adequate magnesium intake and adequate magnesium levels. So usually either reducing the phosphorus or increasing the magnesium can improve that marker. So personally, I can say, my EGFR is pretty high. I've never actually had like high creatinine levels either. Although I take, creatine, I have more than average muscle mass, and I exercise as well more than average. So theoretically, my creatinine levels, should be higher. But I think because I manage my phosphorus magnesium balance quite well, it's not so. So my creatinine levels and my overall kidney markers are like excellent, because I probably get like at least 500 to 600 milligrams of magnesium per day from foods plus supplements. And my phosphorus intake isn't that high. Like I'm not eating a ton of muscle meat. I do eat like dairy quite a lot. I don't drink any like, Coca-Cola or something like that. But I'm getting plenty of magnesium probably, which then kind of keeps the phosphorus balance and my kidney function in check. My EGFR calculated from creatinine last time was like 120, which is like super high. And my cystatin C was also like in the optimal zone. So everything is great from that sense. But to sum it up, for kidney health, avoid hypertension, avoid obesity, avoid high blood sugar levels, don't consume too much phosphorus. Probably most people need more magnesium. And yeah, and yeah, like if you're looking at your kidney markers, then look at cystatin C more so than creatinine. But I think if you're in excellent health, your creatinine levels should still be normal, even if you have more muscle mass and even if you take creatine, for example. Next question, is magnesium stearate in supplements harmful? So magnesium stearate is one type of magnesium the supplement companies use. It has no like nutritional effect. It's generally used as like a filler. And yeah, there is some like at least cell studies indicating that magnesium stearate could have some harmful effects like raising inflammation or worsening immune system function, increasing autoimmunity, etc. But most of those are like generally like cell studies, and there's not like a ton of human studies proving those effects. So I personally would say that magnesium stearate itself, it serves no like real purpose, or it has no unique benefits that you would need it in a supplement. But I don't think it's like the end of the world either. So if it says magnesium stearate and you are like kind of sensitive to it, then I would maybe choose supplement brands that don't have magnesium stearate in there. But personally, I don't really worry about it that much because I don't really notice any harm from that. Next question, does niacinamide inhibit SIRT1? So this question relates to me saying that niacinamide is a great NAD booster because it supports the NAD salvage pathway. So yes, there are cell studies that see that niacinamide inhibits SIRT1. But what they see is that when the niacinamide gets converted to NAD, it actually has a stimulatory effect on SIRT1. So it's not permanent like inhibition of SIRT1 by niacinamide, and it actually tends to increase the effects of or like increase the it stimulates SIRT1. So it's only like a short-term inhibition, and in the long term it doesn't have that effect because niacinamide that can convert it into NAD and raises your NAD levels. Now, second of all, whether or not SIRT1 inhibition matters is also like somewhat, I guess, it's a pretty mixed. There's no animal studies showing that SIRT1 would extend lifespan. People who live longer tend to have higher SIRT1 expression. You increase SIRT1 with things like calorie restriction, exercise, etc. Staying healthy, etc. So there's no evidence that this inhibition of SIRT1 would have any harmful effects on long-term health. And second of all, SIRT1 overexpression in animals hasn't been seen to extend lifespan anyway. So most of the sirtuins actually haven't been found, or like actually I personally would say that none of the sirtuins have been shown to extend lifespan in animals. The only one that has shown lifespan extension in animals is SIRT6. But the problem with those studies is that those mice that get SIRT6 overexpression, they also have low baseline IGF-1 levels. And there's like 2 studies done with SIRT6 overexpression, both showing life extension effects, but those mice have low IGF-1 levels, which probably explains those results. Unless we have future studies controlling for that. But low IGF-1 is pretty repeatedly and consistently shown to extend lifespan in animals by like down-regulating the growth pathways, etc. So it's hard to say that SIRT6 is responsible when these mice have low IGF-1 levels as a baseline. So none of the other sirtuins, SIRT1, SIRT3, SIRT4, SIRT5, SIRT7, none of them have actually shown either life extension in animals. So niacinamide inhibiting SIRT1 in the short term before it gets converted to NAD, it's, I would say like it doesn't matter at all. Next question, I would like to know the best biohacks for shift work. What would you do to prepare for a night shift, to endure during a night shift, and to recover from a night shift? So yeah, night shift is a bit of a tricky situation. It's not healthy for you, disrupts your circadian rhythms, can result in some sleep loss. So you can only like mitigate the harm. You can't like completely counteract it. The most important thing is probably to still make sure that you get adequate amount of sleep regardless of when you get it. So sleep deprivation as a baseline, like sleeping less than 7 hours, is still harmful for you, regardless if you sleep at daytime or evening. So whenever the time is, try to get at least 7 hours of sleep per day. I think that when you finish your shift work, let's say you finish around 6 a.m., 7 a.m., generally you would probably want to go to bed and get that sleep in. I think the best time to get the sleep is after you finish the shift work, and the second best time is to sleep slightly a few hours before the night shift. So let's say your night shift begins 10 p.m. You sleep somewhere between 5 to 7 p.m. for 2 hours or 1.5 hours, whatever it is. Get a short nap somewhere close to the beginning of the shift work so that you wouldn't feel so tired during the shift work, and that you wouldn't like abuse caffeine or something like that to stay up during the shift work. So you want to have like a bank a little bit before the shift work, and that's going to be like something like 1.5, 3 hours at max before the shift work, something like 3 to 4 hours before the shift work begins. And then when you finish the shift work, generally you'll be probably tired, so you'll just go to bed. Second of all, when it comes to sports activity, then yes, doing sports, regardless of the time, is associated with lower mortality risk, even among shift workers. So if you do shift work but you don't exercise, then the risk or the harmful effects on your health are much greater than if you do exercise. So regardless of when you can exercise is better than not exercising at all. I would say that exercising during the daytime is healthier than exercising at night, and if you're doing night shift, then you probably won't be able to exercise during the shift. So I would say after you wake up from the night shift, so you go to bed like 6 a.m., you wake up at 12 or something, then you should exercise pretty much within a few hours after waking up. Have your meal as well. You don't want to eat massive amounts of food at nighttime when it's a biological nighttime, but you don't want to let's say do a lot of fasting during the daytime either. So you don't want to bank all of your calories into the evening. So you want to maintain some coherence with the circadian rhythms, and that means having not a breakfast probably, but having lunch or something like that, having maybe a later dinner if you're going to bed or going to work slightly later, and that would be enough. So you want to consume most of the calories in the food still during the biological daytime, not in the middle of the night, if that makes sense. If you get hungry during your night shift, then the best kind of snacks would be to have something something has protein, some protein shake, cottage cheese, something like that that isn't massive and doesn't contain a ton of carbohydrates or fats. So protein is generally the safest alternative to have during a night shift. Some supplements, I would say supplemental wise, NAD boosters for sure can be useful here because they increase your NAD levels, which will be lower because of the night shift and the sleep loss. So taking some NAD boosters like niacinamide, NMN or NR can have benefits. What else? Magnesium probably to help with sleep and the stress, and omega-3s as well, because you'll be probably under the artificial lights a lot during the nighttime. Then you can use the carotenoids plus the omega-3s to kind of counterbalance that. And lastly, I would say that you want to get adequate daytime and sun exposure during the daytime, because if you're working at night, then you don't want to be like a night owl. So you want to still get exposed to some sunlight during the daytime whenever possible. Next question. Say you were going through a time in which you would need to bring utmost productivity to every single day. Let's say due to a deadline. Which things of your daily routine would you definitely keep and which would you leave out? So if you're on a deadline or there's just a lot of things going on in your life, then it's hard to get all your steps in, get your exercise in, get all the sleep, etc. What I think matters most is getting something at least 7 hours of sleep, at least getting 8,000 steps per day, and at least working out 3 times per week. That's pretty much 3 of the most important things I would always keep. Because you're trying to be productive. If you sleep less, then you actually end up becoming less productive, although you might gain a few hours of sleep. I learned that when I was doing the polyphasic sleep. I was sleeping 4 hours a day with polyphasic sleep. I gained 3-4 extra hours into my day. I didn't lose a ton of productivity, but I wouldn't say that I gained massive amounts of it either. So just sleeping at least 7 hours per night, maybe even up to 8 hours, is going to maintain your productivity and enables you to recover. And if you deliberately sleep restrict yourself for a prolonged period of time, in the short term at least, you'll see a drop in cognition, your productivity actually goes down, your blood markers also tend to worsen, you'll feel worse, you'll look worse, so there's no benefit to actually depriving yourself of sleep, even if you are on a deadline and if you're like short on time. It's much more important to like maybe cut down on exercise in the short term than it is to cut down on the sleep. But speaking of exercise, exercise itself has benefits on productivity. Like your brain works better, you feel better, your body just functions better if you still exercise at least 3 times per week. Yes, you don't have all the time to do zone 2 cardio, to do all the hits, to have like 2-hour weightlifting sessions. You don't have time for that, but three times per week, 45 minutes at the gym each, that's like already maximum benefits you can get from weightlifting. So even if you cut down to 2 weightlifting sessions per week, 45 minutes each, then that's already very beneficial. And speaking of walking, then I think walking is also such a easy, low effort activity that has a ton of benefits. Again, your brain feels better, your body feels better, you just have more stable blood sugar, just more energy by going for regular walks. So if you're ever stuck in a airplane, or you're stuck in a house for an entire day, you feel awful at the end of the day because you didn't move. Whereas if you get your walks, you get at least an hour walk every day, then you just look and feel better. I think 8,000 steps is pretty easy to get. If you're struggling with it, get a standing work desk with a walking treadmill. Is one of the easiest ways to get your steps in. If you don't have the time for that, then just go for let's say more frequent walking breaks. So 10-minute walks 3 to 5 times a day, and also doing some of these exercise snacks, which are these 60-second relatively intense physical breaks where you run up and down the stairs for 60 seconds, do jumping jacks for 60 seconds or something like that. It's kind of this short, vigorous activity that increases your alertness, increases your energy. So that's also a very easy thing to do. I wouldn't sacrifice the exercise that much. I wouldn't spend a ton of time at the gym or spend a ton of time doing cardio. I would just bare minimum effort, 45 minutes twice a week. That's the most effective way to kind of go about it, at least in the short term. And then do a few exercise breaks. I do intermittent fasting as well. It saves a lot of time. If you eat once or twice a day, you don't have to spend a ton of time eating. So that, I guess that's also one way to go about it. But that's what I've been doing for the last 8 years. Next question: is sitting in a hot tub at 40 degrees Celsius an alternative to sauna? So hot tubs, warm baths, steam rooms, infrared sauna blankets, infrared saunas, regular saunas, they all work through increasing your body temperature, which then activates these heat shock proteins that increases your heart rate, gives you a mini cardio workout, and also makes you sweat so that you excrete microplastics and different kind of toxins, heavy metals, etc. It's not, doesn't matter which type of sauna it is. It can be hot tub. As long as your body temperature rises, that's where you get the health benefits. Now, the thing with hot tubs is that for men, at least, it might not be the most suitable thing because you're boiling your balls and your testicles, so you're actually reducing your sperm count. Now, there is some evidence that a regular sauna can also reduce sperm count if you do a ton of it, or if you're not cooling down your testicles. But I think the direct exposure of the warm water in a hot tub has a worse effect, much worse effect than a regular sauna. So in the regular sauna, you could at least have an ice pack on your testicles to cool down the testicles, or you can take a cold shower or a cold bath immediately after that. But in the hot tub, the water is immediately around the testicles, and it's literally boiling them at the same time, so it might not be the best solution. Even if you take a cold shower after that, it's too late, and the kind of your body temperature will rise, or your testicle temperature will rise a lot higher in the hot tub than in the sauna, if that makes sense. So yes, hot tubs can give you some benefits as you would get from a regular sauna, but personally I'm not a big fan because of that reason, for men at least. For women, it doesn't like really matter that much. Next question. More and more studies are showing that olive oil is very healthy. However, a good olive oil can be quite expensive. Do you know alternative oils that are comparably healthy? So yes, olive oil has a long track record of health benefits. Mostly has to do with these anti-inflammatory effects. It lowers lipids, lowers blood sugar, lowers blood pressure, and a lot of the health benefits of this olive oil come from the polyphenol content. So the higher polyphenol content is what like mediates those effects. Now there are certain fatty acids as well in olive oil that have health benefits like oleic acid, etc. But personally, I think the polyphenol content is what matters the most. Now, a good alternative to that is to just eat olives. If you don't have that much money to buy expensive olive oil, which again would be actually a big priority to do, because a lot of the cheap olive oils are mixed with canola oil and they tend to be like worse quality. So if you do buy olive oil, then the higher let's say price olive oil tends to be worth it, because especially if you consume it like on a regular basis. But regardless, if you don't buy the olive oil, you can eat the olives, which are great. Like olive oil is made of olives. You can eat a lot of olives as well to get these polyphenols and these healthy fats from there. Now the thing with olives is that you don't want to buy the black olives because that's like food dyes. You want to buy just the regular green olives without the dyes. They taste good, kind of salty, nice. You would probably have to eat quite a lot of olives to get a sufficient amount of these polyphenols, but at least they're like one source. Second of all, I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say like an oil is a good alternative. I would say that just foods that have polyphenols are a great alternative. So foods like walnuts are super high in polyphenols. They're actually one of the highest polyphenol foods in the world. Different nuts and seeds, vegetables, fruits, blueberries, teas, coffee, they're all very high in polyphenols. So just kind of focus a lot on those foods if you can't eat a ton of olive oil. But if we are speaking of oils specifically, then avocado oil is usually used for cooking. I wouldn't say that it's like especially healthy. It just has a high smoking point. It doesn't have like a ton of like, it maybe has some like healthy compounds, but it's not as much as olive oil. And I would say like black seed oil is another one of those oils that has health benefits, but it's kind of bitter and not tasty. When olive oil is actually tasty, then the black seed oil, you don't want to like kind of use it as salad dressing. It's not like super tasty, but you can use it as in like a spoon, I guess. Not sure how much price difference is, but I personally would kind of gravitate more towards eating the olives, eating the walnuts, eating the blueberries, drinking coffee, eating the vegetables. You can get a ton of these polyphenols, and also herbs and spices. So curcumin, rosemary, thyme, those are super high in polyphenols, and you can use them like kind of teaspoons in your salad or foods. You can cook your meats with rosemary to reduce the glycation effects. So a ton of herbs. Just use a ton of herbs, berries, vegetables, walnuts, and coffee. And the last question of the week is, since astaxanthin is a potent antioxidant, would it have effects of negative feedback on body's natural antioxidant production? Would it have a negative effect on exercise and muscle growth? So astaxanthin has pretty high antioxidant potential. It's got one of the highest ORAC scores in the world, which refers to antioxidant potential or capacity. So astaxanthin is like super effective in reducing inflammation and oxidative stress. Now, does it affect your body's natural antioxidant capacity? Then not really. I haven't found any evidence for that. Sometimes with these antioxidants like vitamin C or NAC, they using them after a resistance training workout especially, they tend to like blunt some of the positive adaptations to that exercise. But it doesn't apply to some of these antioxidants or anti-inflammatory supplements like omega-3s, for example. Omega-3 supplementation has been found to actually enhance muscle growth by reducing like muscle damage. And the same applies to astaxanthin. I've seen studies in animals and in humans that astaxanthin actually enhances muscle growth and protein synthesis, and it doesn't necessarily like blunt that response. Personally, I would take astaxanthin kind of before workouts rather than post workouts to avoid any potential issues. But even then, based on the evidence, then it doesn't appear to like negatively affect muscle growth or exercise. Whereas some of these other like NSAIDs, aspirin, and NAC and vitamin C, in larger doses, they actually appear to reduce the muscle growth effects at least. The effects of like endurance and muscle strength might be different, but for muscle hypertrophy, because muscle hypertrophy is driven partly by inflammation, this cell swelling, inflammation is kind of a necessary component to the muscle size increasing, which isn't the case for strength, which is like a nervous system adaptation, and is not the case for like endurance either. So yeah, I do take astaxanthin, and I think it's great. I haven't seen any like inhibitory effects on muscle growth or something like that. It helps with skin, and yeah, it's generally great. Alright, that's it for this Q&A. If you want to ask me a question in the future, then make sure you follow me on Instagram at Siim. Other than that, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to click a like and subscribe for future videos about living longer and staying healthier. My name is Siim. Stay optimized, stay empowered.